They were called the Soldiers of Poverty, Roosevelt's Tree Army, the Boys in Green. I met a woman in Door County. She said we used to call them the Crazy Khaki Kids. I went to a reunion, and there were 500 of these fellows in 1992 at this reunion. And I shook their hands. They said it was the best year of my life. It turned my life around. It's the greatest experience. I don't know what would have happened to me, they said. You got to tell our story. So I went out and spent way too much money and made a documentary film about it. The stories I'm going to share with you today are stories I acquired in my travels. Let me say right up front that if you have any questions in the course of my program, raise your hand, interrupt me. I love to be sidetracked. We've got in our presence tonight, and this is a rarity, and this is very special. We got two CCC boys. On my left here is Bob Simonson. Turn and wave to the folks, Bob. Bob was in Sparta in Wisconsin. He worked in a quarry. He later worked as a supply sergeant or in the supply room. That's where they passed out the bedding and the uniforms. And he's going to share a little experience that later on that he may not want to talk about. And then Walt Zimmer. Turn away to the folks, Walt. Walt was at Camp Long Lake in the northern reaches of Wisconsin. And Walt planted lots of trees, just like Talk. What else did you do up there, Walt?
I worked in the fire tower and worked on a survey crew, and I forgot to tell you before that firefighting was the big thing in this country.
Firefighting was huge in this. America really was in a very hard time, and people were starving. And you had in some areas 70-80% unemployment. And up in northern Wisconsin, where did you grow up, Walt?
In Rice Lake.
Rice Lake. And what was the unemployment like here? The mills were all closed down? What was going on?
Much work here. I don't remember that, but we were farmers in the
pea factory in the summertime. The pea factory.
Yeah.
Pea factory in the summer.
The farmers had it better than the city kids because the farmers had food to eat. There was an old saying that if you didn't make it, if you didn't grow it, you didn't have it. So getting back to the 1933, Franklin Roosevelt had studied forestry in college. And all across the northern Midwest through Pennsylvania, New York, the loggers had taken away the forest. The farmers had over-farmed the land, and the soil in many areas had turned sandy. So you had all across the northern part of the Midwest these sand blows, fallow fields. Farmers couldn't raise enough crops to pay their taxes, and so they abandoned their farms. What do you do with these thousands of abandoned farms? Well, Roosevelt knew that pine trees grew in sandy soil. And as governor of New York, he had created CCC-type planting programs utilizing teenagers. So that was job number one. One fellow told me, I gave a talk, he said, Wisconsin would have blown away if it weren't for us CCC boys. Roosevelt's first major piece of legislation, the Emergency Conservation Works, offered employment to 17 to 25-year-old men. They had to be single, healthy, from families on relief, or poor farm families who may not be on relief. And one per family, and they were sent to these work camps which were run by the Army. The camps were very much Army in every way. You had these long barracks or bunk houses with the bunk beds, and you had the mess hall, you had the supply buildings, equipment buildings with axes and rakes and shovels. You had a garage, an infirmary in every camp, recreation building, educational building, water tower, you had a generator building, a blacksmith shop. They were like a self-enclosed village, and they were run by these non-commissioned officers. It was like a military camp, but there was no drilling. One fellow said, we couldn't even walk with our shovels on our shoulders. They didn't even want to get the appearance that we were drilling.